So picking back up with expressions and equations, or as I like to call it, just plain old algebra. Let's finish up talking about y equals mx plus b before I get rid of this information so we can tackle a few problems. So remember, y equals mx plus b mathematically is the slope-intercept form. It is actually the equation of a straight line. If you ever wanted to make an equation from a straight line you see on the graph, this is one of the easiest ways to do it. In terms of word problems, these variables take on different meanings in real life terms. As I said before, I want to give another shout out to one of my colleagues, Mr. Deer, for pointing out the importance of x and understanding what that is, even though it is mainly going to be your unknown. I also want to point out x is simply the number of times m occurs, and that's why there's a multiplication. You won't see a multiplication sign in between these two variables in any other time, really, because it's expected that you know that if I just write y equals mx plus b, that this means that m is being multiplied by x. Simple as that. And like I said before, when you look these standards up, you'll see on the internet it has R, P, X, Q. I'm going to do what I can to hopefully one day just get everybody to use y equals mx plus b, because I think it's a lot easier for everybody. So with that being said, if you guys want to get one last photo of that, or screenshot it or whatever, do that, because I need to use the board. And I'm actually going to leave the y equals mx plus b. I'm going to put that back and show you how this relates to our word problems. So, our first problem, give you a second to read it to yourself as I finish up here. Excuse me. So, moving right along, Aaron earns 12 points at home every time he cleans his room. Once he has 500 points, he can cash in his points for $50. How many more times must he clean his room if he has 272 points and wants to earn 500? So, let's see how that plays into what I just talked about our real life meanings of y, m, x, and b. So, right off the bat, after I finish reading this entire problem, I've already located my b. There's a starting amount. There's an initial amount. How much is he starting with? Well, it says if he cleans his room and he has, meaning that's the past tense. And I encourage my kids to read and annotate when they're doing word problems. Has means that it's already possessed. It's in his possession. That's what he has already. So I can fill in, I can already start building an equation. The minute I read the entire problem, I can start building. Next, total amount. That was given in the very beginning. Once he has 500 points. That's the goal. And another key word I should put, a lot of times total amounts are goals. And the total amount in this case is 500. Now I'm only missing my slope and my constant. So I told you the key words to look for when you're looking for slope. Every, each. It says Aaron earns 12 points at every, there it is, my key word. I'm going to circle every, and what numbers is associated with every? 12. So that's his constant rate. Every time he cleans his room, he gets 12 points. 12 is my M, or my slope. That's the rate. And how did I locate the slope? The key word every. And previously I gave before I erased it, I gave you a list of other words that will help you identify what the slope is. Now, as I said before, X is usually the unknown or what you're looking for. So the beauty about this is, even though there are 4 variables, you really only need to find 3. Y, M, and B. Once you find 3, we can always find the 4th. Because now I've built a 2-step equation that I can solve for X. And what will X equal? X will equal the number of times he must clean his room in order to reach 500. So let's do the math now. Because building the equation is just half the battle. We really want all of the points. We need to also be able to solve the equation too. So students need to understand this conceptually, and you need to have computation skills as well. So I'll do my mini little quick list of steps to solving an equation. Step 1. Start on the side with the variable. The variable is the X. It's on the right side of the equation. When I say start on the side, I mean the side of the equation. So I'm going to start on this side, right? And then once I locate the side I want to work with, I don't want to do anything to 500 because 500 is minding his own business. I need to get X by itself. So the second step, one of the most important steps, is to isolate the variable. Once we isolate the variable, things get way easier. It's one move from there, and hopefully that'll be the move you have patented and down packed. So whenever you get to that point in the equation, you're already done. So how do we isolate the variable? Well, the only way to isolate the variable is to use inverse operations. And inverse means opposite. So I have on this side of the equation with the variable that I want to isolate, I have positive 272. The opposite of 272, positive, is the opposite is negative 272. And the rules state when we're isolating the variable, whatever we do to one side, we must do to the other. So solving equations is roughly 3 steps with some sub steps. So I'll get to the final step in a second. Let's make sure we're sticking to the rules and we're subtracting 272 from both sides. So if I subtract 272 from both sides, these cancel out. I can bring down my 12x and prepare for my final step, which is to always make the coefficient positive 1. And it's important that it's positive 1. If I divide both sides by 12, x equals, I'll just do it here. x equals 19. A lot of students will think they're done and be like, oh yeah, 19, I'm done. But I encourage all my students to put their answer in a complete sentence. So 19 what? How many more times must he clean his room to reach his goal? He must clean his room 19 more times to reach his goal. Done.